Hello everybody and welcome back to the United Stand. It is good to be back and I'm wearing my United top with so much pride. I think this week, every single day, different United top on the show. How do we feel about that? Because, do you know what? You feel proud, don't you? You feel proud to wear a United top this week. What a win, what a performance for Manchester United. I missed you all, like catching up on the game and everything like that. But I can't wait to get into all the news this afternoon, talk about the derby and also look ahead to the Arsenal game as well. I know it's early, but there's so much news coming out from Manchester United regarding Michael Carrick, the training sessions, the midfield situation. I think there's a lot to discuss, but also looking ahead. Are we getting too carried away? Is the conversations about what happens if Carrick does do really well for the time he's in charge? I just want to talk all things Man United with you guys, get your feelings in. But on today's show, the main topics, the main headlines are Michael Carrick demanding more from his players and maybe more in the transfer window as well. A brief potentially put out by Manchester United to calm everyone down when there's talks about us going for a midfielder, the mystery midfielder that apparently Goldbridge 95% knows who it is. Well, he's not told me and I've asked him as well, so I'm not sure who that is or what is going to happen there, but there's been news coming out from really credible sources that it seems like Man United are trying to shut that down. So is it just that waiting game for Elliot Anderson in the summer? Stuff coming out from Chris Wheeler regarding Michael Carrick as well. Wayne Rooney having his thoughts on Michael Carrick's influence on the team. Bruno Fernandes with a really interesting quote about Michael Carrick. And I mean, I'll save it. But Bruno Fernandes speaking about Michael Carrick, and it really is interesting. We'll delve into that. And I think just getting into how we're feeling going into this week and going into that Arsenal game, because it feels like there's been a massive resurgence of positivity, and rightly so. Apparently that's the best game we've played in years, and when I watched it back it seemed that way as well. Just getting absolutely battered Man City, and you love to see it. So I can't wait to get into all the news with you guys, get into the conversation, get your comments in, get your super chats in, and let me know how you're feeling. Detective Bridge says Daniel Thompson, and Adonis says it's Ndidi. Ben was the only one mentioning him way back. Has to be. Oh, it can't be Ndidi. I'm sorry, it can't be Ndidi. It really can't. Ndidi about 5 years ago, maybe. Now, surely not. I wouldn't be wanting to go down that road. And he did say injury issues as well, and Ndidi has had injury problems in the past, so it could be Ndidi. But to be honest with you, right, straight away, I'm going to get my thoughts in on this. I'll read out the news coming out from Simon Stone first, and then I'll get my thoughts in. So this is what Simon Stone has said this afternoon, well, late morning afternoon. There has been more speculation about potential changes to Michael Carrick's squad, with one report suggesting a deal for former Wolves skipper Ruben Neves is close. United sources have repeatedly played down the chances of signings this month unless they were part of a long-term plan, as was the case with Antoine Semenyo, who turned down a move to Old Trafford and played in Saturday's game for Manchester City. And judging by the comments of Roma director yesterday, nothing has changed. So Simon Stone saying nothing's changed. Man United aren't planning any incomings this summer unless it is a long-term target. Would Ndidi be a long-term target? No, he wouldn't be. Ruben Neves, I think that would be a really interesting signing. I don't think that's a signing you look at and you say, oh, that's just a stopgap and we're going to be regretting this time next year. I think Ruben Neves has got experience. He's got Premier League experience. He is a quality football player. He's been excellent for Portugal. He's been excellent throughout his career. I think that's a really interesting move. I'm not saying it's going to be absolutely game-changing, but it's something I could get on board with. Anything else, I don't think he's really worth Manchester United's time. I wouldn't bother going if he was, let's say it was Ndidi, I wouldn't bother going and doing it. The type of player Man United should have gone and got in the summer if they were looking for a stopgap signing, which it looks like we might be, despite the reports coming out that we're not, would have been João Palhinha, and Spurs went in and got him. That's who we should have gone and got. Yes, I think he's 30 years old, but he's Premier League proven, he's very good, is the exact sort of figure that Manchester United would need. I think he'd do really well in the Michael Carrick setup. That's who we should have gone for. He's off the market now, he's not on the table. And I think you'd struggle to find a figure like that on the table in January for 6 months, because I think this is the club kind of putting it out there. Don't get excited. we're probably not going to sign anyone. Simon Stone's got very, very good relations inside the club. He is an excellent journalist. He wouldn't put it out unless he had it coming from somewhere. And it does repeatedly seem to be coming out, United aren't going to do anything unless it's long term. United aren't going to do anything unless it's long term. And I think when Simon Stone's saying it, you've got to look at it. And to me, I think this is the club seeing all the all the speculation that there's a mystery midfielder that they could go and get. And by the way, I do absolutely believe Ben Jacobs when he says that we've had talks with a mystery midfielder. We absolutely have. Whether we're going to follow through on that, let's wait and see. But I think the club are thinking, I do not want excitement coming out from this. Let's calm the storm. Let's set the standards and let's calm the fan base and say, we're probably not going to get anyone this January unless it is a long-term target. Because I think what Manchester United's stance is, and I think this will be the stance when they have that meeting with Michael Carrick about the transfer window, it's either a long-term target that is absolutely nailed on, we are super, super happy with spending the money on, i.e. a Semenya who we didn't manage to get, i.e. a Anderson who we will be going for in the summer and isn't available to go and get in January, or it's a 6-month loan. That is it. We don't want an option to buy. We don't want an obligation to buy. It has to be a 6-month loan. So I don't think United, as much as Simon Stone says they're against going for anyone who isn't part of the long-term plan, I think that's the message they're sending out. We don't want anyone unless they're part of our long-term plan. We don't want anyone who's necessarily, over the age of 26. Man United's the under 25 club. But I think what they failed to kind of mention, which I think is a big deciding factor in this, is if we've got to lay down some money. If it was a 6-month loan where you can try before you buy and it's not going to be something where Manchester United have to put serious money down on the table, I think they'd entertain it, which is why I think Ben Jacobs is right, because we know how good he is. He's on the show every week. And I mean, he spoke about Sesko weeks and weeks before we were even linked to him in this summer transfer window. I knew we were linked to him before that. But I think we are having talks with midfielders we can get on a 6-month loan. But it's really hard to get clubs to get on board with that. I mean, they always want some sort of benefit for letting their player go on loan. They're going to want a fee. They might want an obligation or an option to buy in there. I think Man United would be very, very, very clear. We are only going with a signing in January that isn't the Anderson or the Semenya or the Belabor type of name, if it's only a loan. And I think it's hard for them to go and find that. So that's where I think Simon Stone and Ben Jacobs are both right at the same time. I think the club are trying to calm the fan base, putting it out there, and club sources are putting it out there via Simon Stone, which he said here, we only want players in our long-term plan. Don't expect any January signings, by the way, everyone, because everyone seems to be getting super excited about a mystery midfielder, but we're not doing anything big in January. It's not what we're going to be able to do. But at the same time, they're probably working with Michael Carrick behind the scenes saying, look, we want to at least give you something. We're trying our best for a loan here because we can't go and get the Anderson. We can't go and get the Belabor. It's just not possible this January. So this is what we're trying to do. And I've said this many times on the show. If it was an Ndidi type of signing, I wouldn't be going for it. I would rather probably get no one. I'm going to be so honest, because I don't see the point of bringing someone in that isn't gonna... This is if we had to pay money, by the way. This is if we had to pay money. If we had to put money down on the table, I don't see paying money for someone on a permanent transfer, if it was permanent, or an obligation to buy, if they're not going to be here this time next year, or if they are going to be here, but they're going to be taking up a position for an academy player to come through, if they're going to be taking up a position for somebody better to be there. If we're bringing someone in, I want someone who's going to genuinely, seriously improve this team, not just another space in the squad, not just another option where you're like, well, they're all right, but they're not anything special. I don't want that. If we were going to spend money and getting someone in permanent, it'd have to be someone who's been well scouted and who's going to genuinely improve this team and this squad. But I've also said this before as well. It's not our jobs to go and scout the next Caicedo. It's not our jobs to go and scout the next Elliot Anderson. It's not our jobs to go and scout the next Declan Rice. That's down to the club and the people that pay a lot of money to go and scout these players. So I struggle to believe that Manchester United genuinely don't have any way of helping this squad in January with a permanent signing of a player that is undiscovered. There is players that are undiscovered. There's players out there that were at other clubs and not well known before they broke onto the scene and got an opportunity. Like, there is players out there that will be the next Caicedo, or will be, you know, even the next Kobe Mainoo. There is players out there who will be that. But they've got a low profile right now and they've not moved to a club where they're getting the exposure. So it's Manchester United's job to go and scout them players and bring them in and nurture them and get them into the first team. And I think the January window is a really good opportunity to go and do that. I mean, what a coup Aiden Heaven was this time last year. And Dorgu has been hit and miss. He's finally looking like he's a serious player. And do you know what it is with Dorgu? With Dorgu, I have criticised him heavily this season, and I don't regret doing so because I think he's been really poor in certain games. But what I like about him is he works super hard, his heart's in the right place, and I've always got time for them sort of players. They will cover every blade of grass. Apparently he's working super hard off the pitch with a trainer to get to his best possible physical shape and be the best possible version of himself. And he's 20 years old. You can see him improving. You can see him getting more confident. So I've not written him off. I'd criticised him, and they were for performances that I didn't think were very good. But over the last few games, he's looking sharper, he's looking more promising. And on the rewatch of that Manchester derby, he looked like a serious baller. So I'm very, very happy with him. I'm not getting carried away, but I can see signs of improvement, and that's really, really important. So there is certain things that United can do. There isn't nothing we can do. But I also get the point of view is we're not going to put down money for a player that we're not really going to want to be in the team this time next year. We're not going to do that just for the sake of buying someone to please people. So it's got to be that sort of middle ground. If it is a loan, fair enough. Just add someone in for the short term to give Carrick that depth until the summer and then see what happens. But if we're actually going to have to put down 15, 20, 25 million, it better be on a player you want to be playing here this time next season. So I get that stance from United, but I also think the scouting department should be either doing better, but I think our scouts have never been the problem. It's the people trusting the scouts. Or you need to trust them further and trust them when they say, this player, I think, can be this. Let's go and invest in them now. Let's go and strike while the iron's hot. That's the route I'd be going down if I was Manchester United. But let me know how you're feeling and thinking on this. And I think it's important that we don't just sign someone for the sake of it. For example, Conor Gallagher, I was always sort of on the edge with Conor Gallagher. If it was a loan, I was there. If it was a loan deal, I would have absolutely accepted Conor Gallagher. If we would gone and paid money for him, how much did Spurs pay for Gallagher? How much did Spurs pay for Gallagher? £34 million. If we'd paid £34 million for Gallagher, I think that would have been a big mistake. I do. As a loan, I think he would have been a really good squad addition from now until the end of the season that could have done a good job to help out. But for £34 million, is Conor Gallagher going to be a starter for Manchester United this time next year for their aspirations of where we want to be? No. So he's got to fit in the structure of what Manchester United want to do. Got some super chats coming in here. I'm going to read through the chat in a second. We're just kind of reeling off the news that's coming out right now. Daniel Thompson, TYA says, hope you're well, Beth, and the United stand a great win against City. Good stuff on the Sky Sports box. Some will moan about everything. It was a great opportunity and rightly took it. Now we continue priority on ownership out. Thank you very much, Daniel. Look, I mean, that got so much. Twitter was a crazy place. Twitter was a crazy place after the in the box stuff kind of went out there, and there was so many people commenting and have their opinion on it, and that is absolutely fine. I think everybody is allowed an opinion, but I also think people don't know all the circumstances around certain things. I will rise above it. There's nothing, I don't need to explain myself for anything, but what I will say is that I've had a season ticket at Manchester United for years. I go to every single home game there is. I can't remember the last time I missed a game, and I gave my ticket away for free when I gave my ticket away for free to Maud, who doesn't have a season ticket. Yes, he gets to go to games, but I give him my ticket quite a lot, and I give him the ticket again. And he had an absolutely amazing day, and he deserves to do so. He's a great guy and a good friend of mine. So it was a cool experience to go down to Sky Sports and see everything there, and it was also really cool to kind of experience the game in that sort of setting. I think it's an innovative idea. It was torturous. I can't believe I missed it. I'm gutted I missed it. I'm gutted that I missed it live. But also, I know Maud's had a really, really good day out, and it's a cool and a unique opportunity. So there's nothing against it, in my opinion. I'm happy with it. And I think, you know, it's always cool to experience new opportunities, new ideas, and creativity as well. So look, it's each to their own. Not everyone's going to like everything. Not everyone is going to dislike everything. Everyone's entitled to their opinion, and that's absolutely fine. But thank you very, very much, Daniel, for your super chat there. We also have, let me get this in here. Also, I mean, I was speaking about this with Terry earlier. Obviously, you know, I never like to miss a game, and I love going to Old Trafford. I love watching Manchester United. But there's people out there who do like the match of the day challenge. Like on the last day of the season, every single season, I don't do it because I can't not know. And that's why the box was so difficult for me. The not knowing was really, really difficult. And just missing the Old Trafford atmosphere because I'm used to it. I know what them big games are like. I've been going to them for years. But the thing is with the match of the day challenge, which is what I was saying, is my dad and my brother actually do the match of the day challenge every single year on the last day of the season. So they don't know any results going into match of the day last day of the season. So that season when it was really, really close between Liverpool and Man City, and I think Gerrard was managing Aston Villa at the time and Coutinho scored, and it was like, oh, who's going to get the league? They didn't know who had won the league until match of the day. And you know, there's loads of different innovative things that come out yearly, and I don't know, I don't see why other people have to comment so vigorously on other people's choices, but each to their own. And yeah, we keep moving forward. Football Analyst says, why haven't we tried going after Ederson again? I don't know why we've not tried going after Ederson again. I think he's always been kind of a target for Manchester United, but he's never been someone we've like fully gone for and followed through with. So he's an interesting profile for sure, and it wouldn't surprise me if we looked at him again. Jared Palmer, thank you very, very much for your super chat in there. And Football Analyst says, Beth, do you think it could be Cesare Casadei? Let me just go and look, because I saw that coming out, and I don't think that is the midfielder that Ben Jacobs was referring to. I don't think it was, because I was looking at it and I thought, I don't know if Torino would let him go to Manchester United within that 6-month period. He's not one that sprung to mind. But then again, there's nobody out there that really kind of hits the front of my mind of that's absolutely the midfielder that Ben Jacobs is talking about. I'm hoping he's going to reveal it on the show with us this week when I interview him on Thursday afternoon. I'm hoping he's going to reveal it then. I've actually not messaged him to ask him who it is, because I don't think he wants to reveal that information really out there until he kind of feels like it's necessary, or he feels like he can. So I trust Ben to do it in his own time, and everyone's going to have speculation on who it might be. We've got some more comments coming in. Smash a like on the video if you've not already. Isaac says, Beth, do you think it's going to be Loftus? I did think it would have been Loftus-Cheek, but I've heard that it's not. And I won't say where I've heard that it's not, but I've heard that it's not Loftus-Cheek. But that is something that came to my mind when I first saw the news come out. Darren Mulaney says Carrick likes Hayden Hackney, so it could be possible. I hear Hayden Hackney every single day from Manchester United fans, but I'd never see us linked to him in any sort of credible news outlet. So Hayden Hackney feels like a fan theory rather than actual credible sourced information, but you never know. Man United might look at it and they might look into it. But when I say about scouting talent that isn't going to cost you an arm and a leg, that is ready for that next step up, that's up to the Manchester United board, and it's up to the Manchester United scouts and the recruitment to figure out if Hayden Hackney is ready for Manchester United. Is he ready to come in and make a real difference? That's not for us to decide. We can like players, we can think they've got good attributes, but we're not the professionals. So that's where Manchester United have to do their due diligence and do what they should be doing as one of the biggest football clubs in the world, not letting opportunities pass you by, and figure out what you can do to help this team. Look, when you see, it's really, really hard to make excuses for United when you see Man City signing Guéhi and Semenyo in a January transfer window. And I know they're in a different position to us. I know they can offer more than us right now in terms of stability and clarity on their project and future, but it's hard to turn around and say there's any excuse for Manchester United not supplementing this team when we are genuinely got a serious opportunity to get Champions League football, which we can't miss out on. If there's even a glimmer of hope of us getting Champions League football, you really do have to push ahead in doing so. So, yeah, let's wait and see on that one. Everyone's going to have their opinions. I've seen a lot of people saying Højbjerg. I doubt it'd be Højbjerg. That'd be a proper letdown, wouldn't it, if it was Højbjerg? I wouldn't fancy that one. But I've seen so many people say that. I saw some people say Renato Sanchez as well. There's a few names that keep popping round. Rabiot was one that I kept seeing, but he doesn't have that Premier League experience, does he? I'm not sure what will happen, but hopefully Ben will reveal that in due course. So, we also have some stuff coming out around Michael Carrick. By the way, guys, get in the comments right now a little summary or a word to summarise how you're feeling about Michael Carrick after his appointment. I mean, I know it's only been since Wednesday he's kind of been working with the team. And then we had that absolutely insane result at Saturday lunchtime kickoff at Old Trafford. But how are you feeling about Michael Carrick as of now? Because I mentioned it, and I didn't want to get too carried away, and I still don't want to get too carried away, because we know what Man United can do. They can lift your hopes so high, and then Sunday, everything might come crashing down. But I mentioned it on a show that I was really, really impressed with Michael Carrick when he took the interim job for them 3 games when Ole Gunnar Solskjaer got sacked. He took Villarreal away, Unai Emery's Villarreal. He took Chelsea at Stamford Bridge under Thomas Tuchel. And then he took Arsenal. And I think that was a home game. Arteta was managing Arsenal at the time. And he beat Arsenal 3-2. We drew with Chelsea 1-1. And we beat Villarreal 2-0. And he played a different lineup in each of them games. And I thought he did a fantastic job in them 3 games. And it's really hard to judge someone off 3 games. But I really liked what I saw. And then when I re-watched the Manchester derby, and it's actually very interesting because sometimes I watch back portions of games, but I don't watch back games as much as I would like to. And I have a very good friend, Ricky, who always watches back the games. And I messaged him earlier, actually, and I said, when you watch it back, knowing the result, so you know a United win is safe, so your emotions aren't all over the shop. I think you gain so much more perspective on the game and how we actually played and how certain individuals played. When you watch it in the moment, you're so just wanting everything to go Man United's way. Any little mistake, it can be blown out of proportion, or you don't get the full clarity of the situation because you're so emotionally invested in it. And when you're watching it back, you know the result, so you can kind of be a bit more calm and gain perspective. When I watched that performance back, I was genuinely blown away at the work Michael Carrick had done with his team within 3 days. Like, he took that team on Wednesday, and on Saturday, we looked like a different beast. I've not seen Manchester United play like that in a very, very, very long time. A consistent 90 minutes battering. And yes, City had a decimated back line, and that's why I don't want to get too carried away, because if you look at their back line, let's be honest, Aileen, Kushnov, Rico Lewis and Ake, like, that is seriously makeshift for them. It's not a good back line. Like, I'm going to be so honest with that. And I'd say I don't want to be harsh, but it's City players. It's youngsters, it's players playing out of position. Donnarumma, though, saved them quite a few times. Like, genuinely, if you think about it, off the post twice. I think there was 2 offside goals. Or was it 3 offside goals in the end? Bruno, Ahmad and Mount. So 3 offside goals, hit the post twice. Donnarumma pulled off like 3 or 4 worldy saves. It genuinely, on a different day, could have been 5-0. If not more, it could have been 7-0. Genuinely, with the way Man United played. I've seen us win big games, but I've seen us win big games in moments and carry out the game pretty well and defend for our lives. Against City, we battered them for 90 minutes and we thoroughly deserved to win that game. And not once, when you're watching it back, does it look like United are on the ropes. So it was like, what he did with that team was brilliant. So I'm feeling really positive around Michael Carrick. Obviously, he's got 16 games to go. It's not as if, one game makes up for everything, but he started off super positively. This will give us a huge confidence boost. And I'm super excited going into Arsenal on whether he changes the team, keeps the team lineup the same, how he approaches it. It's going to be really, really interesting, because I know when we beat Villarreal away from home in the Champions League, he then did change the team when we went to Stamford Bridge, and then he changed the team again, even though we drew that game. I know a win is always an aim for Manchester United, but a draw was a good result in that game, and he changed it again for Arsenal and went and won. So I know we've won, and people say don't change a winning team, but I'll be interested to see if he does change anything. Of course, back then it's Champions League and then on to, Premier League, so there's less turnaround time. We've got a full week off, so, he could go with the same lineup if he wanted to, but I think Carrick, he's doing a lot of things that I just really, really like. Even the way he spoke, I watched his post-match interviews, I watched the build-up interviews, I watched everything to do with that game. And he was just saying the right things. He wasn't getting carried away. He's calm. He's composed. You can tell the players are blown away. They're very, very impressed by what he's done already. I mean, that Lisandro Martinez interview, when he was saying, he just seemed blown away by what Carrick had been doing in training. And I don't know whether that's, a big positive for Carrick or a bit of an embarrassment for Ruben Amorim, really, when you look back at it. But I'm excited to see what's to come. But like I said, I don't want to get too carried away, because we've done that before and then it all comes crashing down and then you just look like an absolute idiot. But Carrick is unbeaten, this Man United interim manager. So let's see how he keeps going. And what does he have to do for you to be in contention for the permanent job? I'm not saying give him the permanent job. I'm really not saying that. I just wanted to ask, because I've been asked it. I've been asked it by opposition fans. What would Carrick have to do to be in contention for the permanent job? Or even if he won like every single game, would he not be? And I think people who say, even if he won every single game, he still won't be in contention for the job, I think that's really, really naive. We won't. But if he did, obviously he would be in contention. People would start talking like that. So it's an interesting comment anyway. But this is what Chris Wheeler had to say about a bit of background on Michael Carrick and the way that he's kind of come into the club. So in the aftermath of an uplifting Manchester derby win, Michael Carrick addressed his players in the home dressing room at Old Trafford and spoke with what was described as a calm authority. It's really important we don't get carried away. It's one game. That level of performance needs to be a version of normal. And that's absolutely true. Don't get carried away. Like, you've won one game. It's a brilliant performance, but you've won one game. If you go and beat Arsenal, then Fulham, then the game after that, then I'll start taking you seriously. Once United Strand gets a haircut, we can start talking about celebrating a little bit more. So enjoy the moment, of course, but he's got that calmness. And do you know what it is with Carrick as well? And this is how you're going to get him respect with the dressing room. He knows what it is to win at Manchester United. He knows what it is to play at Manchester United in the biggest competitions, in the biggest trophies. And that gains some respect as well off the players. Also, he said this: Michael Carrick informed the players that from now on, training will be shorter but more intense in nature. According to insiders, it was immediately clear from the first session that there was a different energy on the pitch. Yeah, I mean, I could see that. We looked hungry. We looked up for it. We looked like we'd do absolutely everything we could to win. And again, you can talk about, well, how come Ruben Amorim couldn't achieve this? But also, Darren Fletcher struggled as well. And I'm not saying Darren Fletcher struggled, but it might be because the players kind of knew he was only in there for a couple of games. I don't know. But the energy we had during that Brighton game and the way we approached that Brighton game, because I'm not even speaking about Ruben Amorim, because, I mean, the amount of backlash I got for saying I think he should have been sacked. I mean, couldn't dream of playing the way that we did against City under Ruben Amorim. But anyway, I'm not going to even get into it. So, in the Brighton game, I'll use that as an example because it's not bringing Ruben Amorim into it. I walked away from that game at Old Trafford when I went and watched it, gutted that the players, I don't think, looked like, I mean, they might have thought they did, but I don't think they left everything out there. It didn't look like a team that was absolutely desperate to get through to the next game of the FA Cup. Whereas when I watched back the derby, I saw a team that looked absolutely desperate, like they would do anything to go and beat that City team at Old Trafford. And I don't know how Michael Carrick and his coaching staff sort of ingrained that into them, but it does come from them. So, you should always have that as a United player. But as a player, sometimes you can think that you're doing the most in a game, but you're not. And it takes, that guidance, that coaching to really get you into that headspace and get you working as a team in that way. And I think we did that brilliantly as well. So the training is going to be more intense, but it's going to be shorter. And I don't know how that'll work towards the players, but if it can continue doing what we did on the weekend against City, then brilliant. Of course, it's going to be slightly different in games like that. It's a derby, it's at Old Trafford. It's hard to kind of bottle up that feeling and put it into every single game. But as long as, you can keep the standard at that baseline as every single game that I put on this shirt, this is the bare minimum that I have to do. I think that's something that Carrick will work on as well. There's still people trying to guess the midfielder in the comments. A lot of people think it's Ndidi. A lot of people. Also, a big thing that I would say about what the boost at the weekend was as well. I mean, it's not just this. I do think Michael Carrick did a brilliant job regardless. But Ahmad and Mbeumo, wow. They're just different level. They are so good. Just intelligent, technically gifted, workhorses as well. If I could, Ahmad and Mbeumo to me are the perfect players because not only are they super technically gifted, brilliant on the ball, clever footballers, but they will absolutely work their socks off. They will get back, they will press, they will put tackles in, they will close down the passing lanes, they will put challenges in, they will cover every blade of grass, but they're also super intelligent and technically superb. I absolutely love them. So I think they were huge additions for Manchester United as well. Ian Tracy says, I think Carrick will go same again against Arsenal, except maybe at right back. Be interesting to see what he does for Fulham when we need to play differently. Yeah, that will be, I think the Fulham game, because I speak to a few people, they were like, knowing you'll beat City, you'll get a draw against Arsenal at the Emirates, and then you'll lose to Fulham at home. And that's something we can't fall into that trap. So it will be interesting to see how he approaches different games, especially when, you do expect Fulham to not exactly come on to Manchester United massively and come at us. They probably, at Old Trafford, will be a little bit more reserved and we'll have to try and break them down and get through that low block. And that'll be interesting to see how Carrick approaches that one. Football analysts have done that super chat. Thank you very much. We have Mighty AJ saying, Baleba will be a mistake. Jordan James is the answer. Some Prem team will snap him up and he will be a success. I don't think many people are really on the Baleba bandwagon at the moment. Not many people actually really want Baleba anymore. And I was speaking about this at the weekend actually with someone. There's no doubt there's a seriously talented player in Baleba. Last season, Baleba, it doesn't just disappear. It wasn't a different person. It wasn't a different person in a different body. He was absolutely fantastic last season. This season he's been poor, and that does put question marks in. It does put the cat amongst the pigeons. So he wouldn't be the midfielder that I would be going for in the summer. He wouldn't be near the top of my list anymore. I'd wait it and let it roll another season to see if he can bring his form back, to be honest with you. Anthony says, by the way, anyone want to know it's Loftus-Cheek, the player he wouldn't get in the Wolves team, absolute garbage and has injuries. I don't think it is Loftus-Cheek, to be honest with you. I don't think it's Loftus-Cheek. He's done a lot better with his injuries rehab, I think, from last time I saw, but I don't think it'll be Loftus-Cheek. We do not need another player like that. Brian and Stuff says, Jose, Ollie, Eric Ten Hag and Amorim all beat City too. Means nothing for the long term. Ownership survives on these wins and fans thinking a corner has been turned. Brian and Stuff. Look, this might be recency bias, but I've not seen Man United dominate. And we didn't dominate because they had more possession than us, a lot more possession. Let me rephrase that. I've not seen a Manchester United side batter a top side like Man City like that in years. I can't remember the last time I saw it. Can you remember the last time we battered a top side? We battered a City. We battered a Liverpool. We battered City. The performance was fantastic. Yes, we have won against City, again with Ten Hag, with Ollie, with Amorim. Yeah, we have. But they were all we were sat there thinking, oh, thank God we won that. Do you know what I mean? Whereas if you would have come out of that City game we hadn't won it, you'd be thinking, how on earth did we not win that? Like, it was chance after chance after chance. So that, yeah, I don't want to get carried away. But I think we need to take into account the full performance, not just the result. Also, just a little bit here from Wayne Rooney. Actually, no, I'll bring in this from Bruno Fernandes. So I found this really interesting. I just wanted to bring it into the show. Bruno Fernandes speaking in 2024 about which United legend he wished he could have played with. He said, Michael Carrick, because I loved him. I love the way he plays. I think as a 6, someone that gives a lot of balls to the players playing up front, like between the lines. He was a player that was not much in the spotlight, but he was really, really important for this club. So the club captain, just knowing and understanding the impact that Michael Carrick had on Manchester United. And Michael Carrick, absolutely sensational player, still underrated. And it's like, is he underrated now? Because so many people say he's underrated, but just a class player. And Bruno Fernandes had one of his best games that I've seen in a United shirt, and that's saying something, against Man City. He's had many brilliant games in the United shirt, but that one was up there. I thought he was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant he was, Bruno Fernandes. And, you know, when a player's got a respect for another former player like that, and you know, you're going to learn so much, and Bruno Fernandes can still learn more. So I'm interested to see how Bruno Fernandes is under Michael Carrick. Bruno Fernandes he's been fabulous for a very long time, but I think Michael Carrick can help Bruno work on some of the flaws to his game, because even the top players have flaws, and Bruno has them. And you didn't see them flaws start to creep out of Bruno in that derby. Like, you saw his strengths on full display, but he played a brilliant game, and it makes me, you know, Michael Carrick is a former midfielder. He has that influence on the midfielders. Look at Kobbie Mainoo, like, how is he going to develop under Michael Carrick? I'm really excited to hear that. We also have Wayne Rooney saying, I think the fans felt something special. It reminded them of what it was like under Sir Alex Ferguson. A lot of younger supporters have endured a difficult 10 to 13 years since he left and hadn't seen a United team play with that level of quality. I was part of sides like that, and this had the same energy, the intensity, the belief, the fight, the courage on the ball. The fans sensed it, and hopefully it's a sign of what's to come over the next 16 games. But again, and like we've just said there, you can't blame people for getting excited. I'm trying not to overcook it, because I know it could all come crashing down. And Wayne Rooney there, it's like, I feel like he's feeling the same way I am right now. I was absolutely buzzing off that performance. I'm buzzing off what I've seen, but we've seen it all come crashing down before. However, you do have to big up that sort of performance, and that's what we need to see over the next 16 games. I mean, I saw a tweet earlier that said, you know, we've only got 16 games left of Bruno Fernandes. And that really, really worried me. It really scared me. I mean, when you watch Bruno Fernandes play in that derby, you just think, wow, I really would not want to lose that sort of player, and how important he is to this team. I think Bruno will stay if we get Champions League football. But I think the more likelihood is, if you ask me now, you know, put £1 million on it, do you think Bruno Fernandes will stay or go in the summer? I could see him leaving, to be honest with you. The amount of projects he's kind of been sold and then they've not developed in the way that he's thought they would. If he gets a good offer in the summer, he probably will look to leave and go and try and win more things, you know, with the career that he's got left, because he's not exactly, you know, a spring chicken anymore, as good as he still is, and the energy that he gives, you know, he's not got unlimited amount of years as a footballer. So we'll see what happens with Bruno, but that's a worry as well. Like, it could only be 16 more games with Bruno Fernandes, but let's see if we can get Champions League football or not. But yeah, not get carried away. But when people say there's no such thing as the United DNA, I think that game on Saturday dispelled that. We'd just been starved of it for so long, like absolutely starved of it. And some of the decisions and the performances that we'd seen under the previous manager, I think it shows in a game like that what Manchester United is all about, and I didn't see that once. I didn't see that once really in the last 14 months. Just kind of looking through your comments here before I round up the show. Thank you very much everyone for getting involved. Smash a like on the video if you've not already. Some people are still thinking it's McKennie. I would have thought it was McKennie. But the way Goldbridge was describing it, it didn't seem like that to me. Because I think he said about the player that he was like pretty late on in his career. And I think McKennie's 27-ish, I'm pretty sure. I mean, I don't know if he meant he's just over like that 25 category, and then it could be McKennie, but I did think McKennie was a really good shout, but the way Goldbridge was describing it sort of put me off a little bit. Just in terms of what you've got to look forward to this week. So Tuesday it is Inter versus Arsenal on That's Football. Wednesday it is Marseille versus Liverpool on That's Football. And then Friday it is Bundesliga, St. Pauli versus Hamburger on That's Football. First two, Inter versus Arsenal and Marseille versus Liverpool, are watch-alongs. And then the third one, Bundesliga, on Friday night, it is a watch-along with Goldbridge as well as watching the live game. Make sure you are there watching it. It's brilliant every single week. Brian and stuff, thank you very much for your super chat in there as well. Smash a like on the video if you've not already. Obby says, hi Beth, it's surprising that players were able to string passes like they did against City. Let's celebrate the win and not forget these are the same professionals that were not able to do that previously. Yeah, I get that. Gaz United says it's not McKennie, it's Ndidi. Mark said Ben mentioned him a few times. Yeah, but Mark might be right? But he's guessing really, because it is based on research. He doesn't 100% know if it is that player or not. He said he's 95% sure. I'd be shocked. I'd be very, very shocked if Man United are going for Ndidi. I'll eat my hat if we sign Ndidi in January. I really would be shocked about that. I mean, there's stopgap and then there's that. Do you know what I mean? Just having a look through, see if I've missed any last comments. Look, anyway, I'm going to go. Please loan only, says Youth K Boy. Look, remember, Champions League this week on That's Football. That could be us. That could be us this time next year. I mean, look at us in the table, and can we do it to Arteta? That's going to be a really difficult game. Their back line is super strong. They're so hard to score against, but let's see. But look, everyone, it was great to be back. Thank you for all the lovely comments. Smash a like on the video if you've not already, and I will see you on the next one.